What's up, y'all? We're gonna check out the AL East today, see what they're rocking with. You know, check out the rosters on the MLB The Show here. It's not my roster. Some of the potentials may look kind of weird. Some of the overalls might seem a little bit low for some of the players, but we're gonna go through them all the same. Start off the Baltimore Orioles. In terms of pitching, they have no pitching. They got John Means. He started out real good. They took away the sticky stuff. His season kind of took a hit, so curious to see what he does this year without it. Jordan Lyles, kind of a band aid. Grayson Rodriguez, should get called up pretty early on, I would think. One of the top prospects in baseball. Keegan Aiken, kind of a younger arm. Maybe he gets some innings, does a little bit better than last year. Dean Kramer, another just filler, really. Bruce Zimmerman, filler. DL Hall, another good prospect they got. Maybe he comes up this year, gives them some innings, makes his debut. In other terms, they don't have too many prospects. Relievers, they got Paul Fry. Maybe he has a better season. Dylan Tate. I personally think he'll take a step forward this year, pitching probably the mid to high threes. Jorge Lopez, usually a starter. I guess he's really pitching up out of the bullpen. I don't really remember him throwing that hard. So I guess just throwing a couple innings at a time, he's really letting it fly. So maybe he, pitches in the high threes, low fours this year out of the bullpen, gives them some solid innings, maybe a spot starter. In terms of younger guys, they don't really have much. And I could be wrong. Maybe some of these guys get called up and, have solid seasons, but, it doesn't look too promising. They got Tyler Wells. I think served as their closer last year. I don't know, 4 saves. Travis Lakins, not very good either. So, Orioles definitely need pitching. One thing they don't need is a catcher. They got one of the top prospects in baseball, Adley Rutschman. They got Anthony Bimboom. I don't think he'll have too many at-bats this year. Had 27 last year. Jacob Nottingham will serve probably as their starter for now because I believe Rutschman is going to start the season injured, but I think he'll be their catcher going forward, and obviously is their catcher of the future. But, Nottingham's not too bad, so, he'll probably get a decent amount of bats, obviously a good fielder. So, they can let Rutschman DH some days, and, let Nottingham get behind the plate and save Rutschman's knees and legs a little bit. Chirinos, just a veteran presence, nothing really important. First base, they got Ryan Mountcastle, who, obviously had a breakout season last year. Was that his rookie season? I'm not sure how they're going to, since 2020 was a 60-game season, they might count that as his rookie year. And this is technically a sophomore season. So we'll play it as that, going into his third season, age 25 season, looking to improve on that 255 average a little bit. But, power is obviously there. And I think he'll be the starting first baseman. And I think Mancini will probably DH. As he, gets a little bit older, he's the team veteran basically. 21 home runs, 255 average. So it looks like they're getting 255 average from both of them. Honestly, that's not bad production, but you'd like just a little bit more out of your better players. Not really anything in terms of prospects. Second base, you got Jorge Mateo. One of the fastest players in the league. Just can't really get on base at a high clip. So if he can get on base, hit the ball a little more consistently this year, I think he could definitely look at 30 plus steals if he can, play a full season, even just hit like 250, 260. Rougned Odor coming over from the Yankees, I think is better than a 202 average. Not probably much, probably like a 240 hitter, but even then, that's a lot higher than 202. Home runs, probably 20 to 25. Long, not even a long time ago, just as much as 3 years ago. You see the 205 average with 30 home runs. But, back in 16, hit 271 with 33 home runs. I'm not necessarily saying that's still in the tank, but I think mid-20 home runs, maybe something closer to 2018, with a 253 average and 18 home runs in 130 games. Maybe he can get back to some of that. You got Jahmai Jones. He's still young. Maybe he takes a step forward this year and can put the bat on the ball more consistently, become a better fielder. Connor Norby, I'm not sure if that's a real prospect or a game-generated player. Terran Vavra, 24. You might get some at-bats this year. He's getting a little bit older in terms of a prospect. You got Shed Long at second base. If he can hit the ball more consistently, honestly, I think he could be a solid piece going forward for the Orioles. Third base, you don't really have much. You've got Kelvin Gutierrez. Maybe he starts at third, or one of these two start at third. In terms of younger players, you got Kobe Mayo. He's probably, 2, 3, 4 years away still, I would think. Good arm at third base, but looks like he needs to improve in the hitting categories, kind of all of the above. Shortstop, you got Daryl Hernandez, good fielder, good speed. Not too much in terms of power. Looks like a decent enough hitter. Ramon Urias, probably the starting shortstop going forward, at least for this season. Phenomenal contact against righties, good contact against lefties. Pretty decent power, honestly. Look for maybe a full season from him, probably in the 15 to 20 home run range. Average probably stays around the same, I would say. Maybe he gets double-digit steals as well, gets a little more aggressive on the base pass. Prospect-wise, you got Gunnar Henderson, who is criminally underrated in the power department. He's pretty lanky guy, 6'3", 195. So maybe once he puts more muscle on, that power goes up a little bit. But comes in as a good fielder, good contact, good speed. So really just needs to work on putting the ball in the gaps and over the fence a little bit more. He's probably a couple years away still. They're not really rushing prospects. No reason to. They're not really in like a win now mode. Richie Martin, he's had some MLB time, good speed, good arm. I personally think he's a better fielder than that. Contact, serviceable for a bench bat, just a fill-in guy, but definitely needs to get better. If he gets on base, I think he could be, a 20-plus steal guy. Jordan Westberg, I think he's better than D potential. I think he's probably closer to at least low to mid B. It's like, probably low to mid 80s. Kind of an all-around guy. Does everything well. Nothing spectacular. Left field, I think one of the most underrated outfields in baseball probably is the Baltimore Orioles. Left field, you got Austin Hayes, 22 home runs, 256 average. Probably close to a full season, 131 games. That's not a bad season. You can definitely live with that. Very good fielder. Good contact and power against lefties, solid against righties. Maybe he takes another step forward and looks closer to 30 home runs, 280 average. A good breakout year, or he stays about the same, which is no problem. That's serviceable. Cedric Mullins, like as I said before, potential. I think his should be an A. Had a 30-30 season, hit over 290. If he hits the same, definitely an all-star. Again, he was an all-star last year. One of the better outfielders in baseball, in my opinion. Colton Cowser, good prospect. Maybe he comes up, gets some ABs this season. But they'll probably look to next season. But he might come up around probably the all-star break if he does. Veterans. I guess you got Ryan McKenna, good fourth outfielder to have. Good defender, not much in terms of a hitter. Chris Owings, he's been around the game a while. Again, just a good fielder. Plays a lot of positions, everything but catcher and first. Then prospect, you got Reed Trimble. Not too sure if that's a real player or maybe another auto-generated guy. But if he is real, looks like he's a good fielder, good contact. Power is not really there, but, probably a few years away. Anthony Santander, good hitter. Really look to improve on that 241 average, getting to like the 260s, 270s. And, mid-20s in home runs, I think is definitely doable. Something closer to his 2019 year, which he did in only 93 games. So they're really looking for him to play a full season. I think he would definitely be in the conversation for 30 home runs and probably like a 270 average, which is definitely, in my opinion, would probably make him an all-star. DJ Stewart, really kind of a platoon guy, mostly against righties. Maybe he can hit lefties, but probably looking for more against righties. Get that average up, get decent power bat off the bench. Prospect-wise, you got Heston Kierstad. I feel like he's higher than single A. Definitely probably going to get some time in the majors this year. Yasniel Diaz, he's still only 25. I think he's got better potential than a D. Good all-around guy. I think he gets called up this year, probably has some at-bats. Christopher Cespedes, nothing too spectacular. All right fielder, all right contact, not really much power. So, Orioles are probably just going to keep rebuilding this year, have young guys develop. Your outfield is still fairly young. Your better players on the team. Shortstop, Ramon Urias, really just kind of waiting for Gunnar Henderson. Third base, you're just kind of waiting for Kobe Mayo. Second, you're hoping one of these two can take a step up. Otherwise, you're waiting for some of these other guys. First base, Ryan Mountcastle, he's still young. Trey Mancini, he's the veteran. And then you've got Adley Rutschman. And then pitcher-wise, you just got to hope you can find something and hope John Means can pitch well without foreign substances, and hope Grayson Rodriguez and D.L. Hall can get up this year and cement themselves in the rotation. Rodriguez, I definitely see as a 1 to 2 pitcher. D.L. Hall, I think 2, 3, or a 4. Probably closer to 2 or 3. 4 being his floor, and 2 being a ceiling. But I could be wrong. He could, perform a 1-2 punch with Grayson Rodriguez. Now we'll move on to the Boston Red Sox. Starting out with Chris Sale. He's out with, I believe, broken ribs right now, so that's about a 2 to 3 month injury. Just recovering and then getting his arm back up to speed and getting back in game shape. Nathan Eovaldi, I think, is going to take another step forward. I think he'll be low 3s in the ERA department. Probably an all-star, maybe rivals some of the other pitchers in the AL East as best in the division. Maybe gets a couple down ballot Cy Young votes. Chris Sale, hopefully he can get healthy. Pitch enough games to make a difference. Tanner Houck, looking to take another step forward, pitch a full season. Probably on an innings limit this year still, I would say, with only pitching 69 last year. But, probably looking to 150 to 160 range for him. You still want him to stay healthy. You got James Paxton, who only pitched 1 game last year, and I believe that was actually the first game of the season. I don't really remember what happened. Maybe Tommy John surgery if it was such a serious injury. Then you've got Rich Hill, the ageless wonder, still out there pitching at 42. Kind of like Tom Brady with baseball, but not quite as successful. Obviously he's been good for a long time, save for 1 season in Cleveland and a season in Baltimore and his rookie year in Chicago. So, he's been a career good pitcher. Really expect most of the same. With injuries, maybe Nick Pivetta, Michael Wacha draw some innings. Prospect-wise, I think Brian Mata is better than that. So, maybe they look to get him in the bullpen this year. Brian Bello, I think, is the only other one. I think he's better than deep potential. Connor Seabold, really the only other guy, and he's getting a little bit older. Bullpen-wise, maybe Garrett Whitlock gets pushed into the rotation, but I think he, for the time being, is best suited in the closer role. Maybe they do try him out in the starter and in the rotation, see how it works. Maybe it works out well. Jay Groom, former top prospect, I guess they shipped him to the bullpen here. Maybe he makes some noise, gets called up. Now they got Matt Barnes, he's okay. Josh Taylor, Ryan Brazier. Maybe he, if he can give a 150 ERA in a more extended role than 12 innings, that'd be good. Jake Diekman, Darwinzon Hernandez, another former top prospect that was a starter. who's honestly done well in the bullpen. Matt Strom did not do well in 6 2/3, but they don't have a whole lot of depth in the bullpen, but they're not dying for arms either. They still have a decent amount. Hansel Robles, also another major league arm. He'll probably command a decent amount of innings. Behind the plate, they got Christian Vasquez, just a good fielder, solid enough hitter to warrant staying the starter for the time being. Kevin Plawecki, just a serviceable backup. Prospect-wise, they got Ronaldo Hernandez. He, potentially getting called up this year, maybe taking over for Kevin Plawecki behind Christian Vasquez. And if he hits well enough, maybe takes over Christian Vasquez down the line. Not too much else in terms of prospects. First base, you got Bobby Delbeck. Probably looking for him to hit for better average than 240. But, decent enough home runs. Probably takes another step forward, and I think closer to 30 range. Not too much in terms of prospects there. Second base, Enrique Hernandez or Kike Hernandez. Obviously a good fielder, plays a lot of positions very well. Most of the infield besides first base, doesn't play catcher and plays the outfield. I think he will probably be their center fielder going forward. Prospect-wise, not too much. And then you got Nick York down here, looking to take another step forward in his age 19 season. Definitely a good hitter. Third base, Rafael Devers. Can't say much else. One of the best third basemen in baseball. Close to 40 home runs, 280 average. I think he'll improve upon that personally. Play himself into a big contract, either maybe extension or going to free agency, finding a new home. Christian Arroyo, a good young backup, 26. He'll probably put things together this year, maybe play for some time at first base, but he will have to hit to get that time. You got Travis Shaw coming back to Boston. Really just a guy you play against righties. Doesn't do too much against lefties. Prospect-wise, you got Tristan Casas. Good hitter. Not sure how much opportunity he's going to get in Boston. Might be a piece of a trade package to get a starter or a reliever to come to Boston. Same with Blaze Jordan. D potential is criminally low. Good hitter. At 19, he's already, pretty decent, I would say, already in Double-A. So, he might move up pretty quickly. They might frontline one of these two along with Dahlbeck for a starter or reliever. And then, that opens up a lot of time. You've also got Hudson Potts, who I think is better than that as well. But, maybe he took a step back last year and is looking to have a good season this year. Shortstop-wise, one of these two is going to have to play second base between Story and Bogaerts. Personally, I would say put Bogaerts at second base. He's not a very good fielder at shortstop, and I think Trevor Story is a much better fielder and definitely a higher arm than 61, but that's just personal opinion. Obviously, they can both hit very well. I'm curious to see what Story's going to do outside of Coors Field, but, Fenway is also a good park to hit in, but it doesn't have the same elevation. So maybe he takes a step back, maybe he takes a step forward. We won't know until the season plays. Prospect-wise, they have one of the best prospects at shortstop in baseball. Marcelo Meyer, 19 years old, and he's already better than a lot of team starters at, other given positions. Good fielder, good speed. Honestly, just has to adjust to, big league pitching. Already in Double-A, it's 19, so really just needs to adjust to the pitching. Jonathan Arias, just needs to get more consistent. I think he has better potential than D to stick as an everyday infielder, maybe a second baseman going along. And then you got Jeter Downs, who maybe they let Bogaerts walk this season or after this season, and they look at making Downs and Meyer their middle infield tandem going forward because, both of these guys are already close to 30, so maybe they look at that going forward. Shortstop, left field, you've got JD Martinez, who I think honestly is going to continue being the DH. You don't really want him in the field too often. Really anything else is Frankie Cordero. He's just a, organizational depth guy. Not too much in terms of prospects. Center field, they brought back Jackie Bradley Jr., really a glove-only guy. If he hits above 230 this year. I'd be surprised. Maybe he regains some of the form he had earlier in his career in Boston and hits, close to 270 with, I don't think he's going to hit 26 home runs, but I think low 200s is kind of where he's stuck at unless he goes back to his 280, 283 with 7 home runs. Maybe he does that. So maybe going back to Boston is what he needed. In terms of prospects, you've got Jarren Duran. Obviously, he's going to command at bats this year, being one of their higher rated prospects. You got Gilberto Jimenez. I think maybe he comes up next year, probably not this year. Still needs to develop more in the power department. Decent hitter, good fielder, good speed. But yeah, I think he's probably a year or two away still. Rosario, maybe he regains some potential this year with a good big season. Right field, you got Verdugo, one of the better young outfielders. Good fielder, in contention for Gold Glove this year, I think. I think he hits closer to probably 20 to 25 home runs this year and keeps the average where it is. In terms of prospects, don't really have much. Looking for one of these guys to maybe take a step and at least become a fourth outfielder. Then you got the Yankees. We'll go back to the pitchers here. They got Garrett Cole looking for a bounce back season from Severino, hopefully injury free. Hope Garrett Cole continues his Cy Young dominance. Jameson Taillon, once a top prospect. You'd like to see him getting the threes for ERA. Montgomery, you'd like him to do the same as what he's been doing. And then really you're just kind of figuring out who your 5-star is going to be, whether it be Herman, Luis Gil, Cortez, Deivi Garcia, or maybe even Clark Schmidt. But, all those guys are going to battle. And, maybe they even take out one of these two, put them in the bullpen. But curious to see how it goes forward. And, injuries always do happen. As you see, Severino went through 6 innings last year. So maybe a few of these guys get a chance. Prospect-wise, obviously Garcia and Gill, they're on the younger side. Cortez came in and pitched well last season, under a 3 ERA. Clark Schmidt, he got hit hard in his, few innings that he got to throw. But other prospects they have, Luis Medina, looking for him to make his debut soon. Throws hard. Probably, year or two away, I would say. Not too much else in terms of prospects. Relievers, they usually have one of the better bullpens. You got Chad Green, good year last year. Luis, also a good year. Jonathan Loaisiga, phenomenal year. I think he's going to keep doing the same. Maybe he is a closer of the future, even though he's already 27. Clay Holmes, good year. Michael King, spot starter, had a good season. Miguel Castro, they just picked up in a trade. I think he'll be a good addition to their bullpen. Makes it, just all the more scary in the back end. Once you get the starter out, you're not really getting a break. Wandy Peralta, good season, 335. Don't know why he's got deep potential. I think that's at least warrants a little bit higher. In terms of younger guys, Randy Vasquez looks like he's more of a starter. They got a couple young guys in here. Albert Abreu, former starter. Maybe he makes a name for himself as a reliever. Maybe he lets his stuff dial up, throws a little harder, gets some more movement. Not too much else. Obviously, you got Aroldis Chapman, who's going to keep doing his thing. And then you got Zach Britton, looking for him to bounce back. 18 innings, almost a 6 ERA. Maybe you're looking for him to bounce back. If you can get that out of him, obviously that'd be phenomenal. But I would probably say more his last 2 years in Baltimore. High 2s, low 3s, and they would be more than ecstatic. Because I don't think you'll see this 3-year run from him again as he, ages a little bit more. But, I don't think you'll see the ERA from when he was a starter either. I think this is kind of just a blip. He comes back and has a bounce back year. They traded away Gary Sanchez, so they're going to rock out with Kyle Higashioka. They did get Ben Rortvet, so maybe they groom him to be the starter. if he shows that he can hit for a decent average, obviously they're both very good fielders. Higashioka, decent power, not much in the terms of contact. Prospect wise, Siegler was a high draft pick a couple years ago. Looks like he needs to improve in a lot of areas. Austin Wells looks like he's more well-rounded, and he's still a couple years away. First base, they brought back Anthony Rizzo, traded away Lee Voigt. Rizzo is going to benefit from the short fence in right field, and just the championship experience that he has with the Cubs. I think he'll probably hit 25 plus home runs, hit 260. Be a staple in the middle of the lineup, offsetting all the righties. You've got Guzman, former top prospect with the Rangers. Maybe he can regain form, and he can draw some at bats with the Yankees here and show what he can do in New York that he couldn't do in Texas. Not much in terms of prospects. Second base, you got Peraza, really more of a bench guy at this point. Then you've got Gleyber Torres, who came onto the scene a few years ago and was just this phenomenal hitter. And then ever since the COVID year, these last 2 years, he's put up half of what he did in his rookie year. So they'll look for him to regain some of his form. Hopefully he can, begin to field the ball better, because he is kind of a liability in the field. Locastro, bench guy, pinch runner at the end of games is really most of what he is. So he's got to look to hit the ball more. Not much in terms of prospects. Third base, that's who they got back in the Gary Sanchez trade. Donaldson, you think of Yankees. I personally think Josh Donaldson will fit in well there. He's always been the villain. He's the bringer of rain. So rain and New York City go hand in hand. He's just a big power bat. Maybe he hits for a better average now that he's in, a deeper lineup and doesn't have to sell out as much. They got LeMahieu, another good piece. He's kind of taking a step back at this point in his career. Not quite as good of a hitter. Maybe he has a bounce back year. And then they got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from the Twins as well in the Gary Sanchez trade, who came over in traded with the Rangers originally. I think he plays shortstop at the start of the season for them, at least for the time being. Otherwise, they will rely on Oswaldo Cabrera and Trey Sweeney, which I don't think they will personally, but really they're just biding their time until Anthony Volpe or Oswald Peraza are ready, which, I think that's why they didn't chase anybody on the free agency market. But they really see something with these two, and that'll probably be their middle infield going forward down the line. And Trey Sweeney will probably slide over to third base, a little bit bigger for a shortstop, 6'4", 200. So this is looking like most of their infield right here, between Peraza, Volpe, and Sweeney. And then I think Falefa will probably play short, and maybe LeMahieu plays second or DHs, or they have Torres DH. But then you'll have to have Giancarlo play the field. Maybe you put Stanton in left and you put Gallo in center, and you have Hicks just kind of come off the bench when needed. But, they have Joey Gallo, phenomenal defender, great power bat. Just, he's got to hit for average, or, he's just always going to be the three true outcomes. Home run, a strikeout, or a flyout. Stanton, when he's healthy, one of the better hitters in baseball. Would love to keep seeing him stay healthy. I think Andujar needs a change of scenery. I think he could honestly produce if given an everyday opportunity. Not much in terms of prospects. Then center field, you have one of the best prospects in baseball. Jason Dominguez, top of the line speed, great fielder. Solid contact. Decent power for, younger guy. And, being 5'10", 170, maybe he tops out at like a 20 to 25 home run guy. Maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 steals. And you hope you can get like a 290 to 300 average out of him. Then, that's an all-star player, just about every year. And you've got Aaron Hicks, who I think at this point is just a fourth outfielder and, injury replacement. Ender Inciarte, glove first guy, just another backup outfielder. Prospects, they got Florial, maybe he takes a step forward this year and becomes what they thought he would be. Everson Pereira just needs to keep progressing, I think. I think he's probably 2 to 3 years away, maybe 4. And then you got, Aaron Judge in right field, kind of a combination of Joey Gallo and Giancarlo Stanton. Phenomenal fielder, really good contact, power out of this world. So, I mean, they've got plenty of power in Yankee Stadium, hitting balls all over the place. Just a matter of getting them all in the lineup and having them all stay healthy. Right field, not too much in terms of prospects. So, I mean, from top to bottom, this is honestly a good lineup. It's just a matter of staying healthy, staying with the bullpen, healthy, rotation. Got to have your top 4 guys here, pitch a full season. You got the Tampa Bay Rays, staying with them. Glasnow, he's coming back from Tommy John. You hope he can pitch like he did last year. Corey Kluber, coming over from the Yankees, I believe, last year. Yeah, Rangers in 20, 1 game, 1 inning. And then pitched for the Yankees last year, didn't do too bad. So, the Yankees lost him, comes down to the Rays. Maybe he regains some Cy Young form from his days in Cleveland. McClanahan, I think he'll take a big step forward. Yarbrough, I think, will be pushed to the bullpen for guys like Rasmussen, Shane Baz, and Luis Patino. 2 young guys here, and a guy, he's 26, so he's still young as well. I think they're going to try and get them as many innings as possible. So maybe you see guys like Yarbrough push to the bullpen, and, Glasnow is out to start the season, so I think 1 or 2 of these 3 guys will get a chance, and maybe it does good enough to keep them in the rotation. Maybe they go 6-man rotation. Glasnow gets back, they go some Glasnow, Kluber, McClanahan, and 2 of the 3 here, or maybe they just take 1 of them. But personally, I think Yarbrough is better suited for the bullpen, long reliever role. Come in and throw 2-3 innings at a time. In terms of prospects and depth, they've got Robert Duggar. He's getting a little bit old to be considered a prospect, so he's going to have to take a step forward. They've got Cole Wilcox. I think he's better than that. And they've got Taj Bradley. He's still young, and Sandy Gaston. So, even though they've got pitching depth all throughout the organization, whether it be young guys, 20-ish, early 20s, mid-20s, more breaking ball stuff, more, fastballs. They've got it all. Relievers, I'm sure they'll have a couple of these guys take a big step forward this year. It seems they always do. In terms of younger guys, reliever-wise, they don't have too much, but I'm sure somebody will take a step forward. Closer, late inning guy, you got Nick Anderson. Hopefully he comes back healthy this year. And then you got Andrew Kittredge, who was dominant last year. So you look for them to be the 1-2 punch in the back. Catchers, you got Mike Zunino, one of the better power hitters at the position. Good fielder. I think he's probably better suited for a DH role. Maybe he can focus on being more consistent at the plate, hit for, better than a 260 average, maybe like 240, 250. And they keep Francisco Mejia behind the plate. Let him be the catcher of the future. And then, in terms of prospects, don't have too much here. Looking for one of these guys really to take the step forward. First base, they got G-Man Choi. He's good against righties, doesn't give you too much against lefties, so he looks like he'll be a platoon guy. Prospects, they got Jonathan Aranda. Looks like he's, probably still a couple years away, which it doesn't seem to bother the Rays. They don't mind when prospects enter in their age 24, 25 season, even 26. Brendan Lau, very good hitter. 40 home runs out of your second baseman is not something you hear too often. So I think they'll definitely take that again. Not sure who these guys are. Can't give you too much on them. He looks pretty good in terms of fielding and speed. And then he looks about the same, a little bit slower. You've got Xavier Edwards. I think he takes a big step forward. And I think he definitely gets some at bats this year. He just needs to hit the ball more consistently. He can fly. You got Vidal Brujan, definitely a more all-around hitter than Edwards, and I think both of them come up this year, probably around the All-Star break. And, see what they can do. Third base, Yandy Diaz. He's a little bit older. He kind of is what he's, gave you already. 13 home runs, mid 250 average. So maybe he moves to third, or one of these two moves to third to take over for him. They brought in Isaac Paredes from the Tigers, so maybe he takes a stranglehold on the third base job. Prospects, they got Curtis Mead. He looks pretty good. Maybe he advances to the higher levels of the minors, steals a couple of bats this year. Shortstops, they have nothing short of talent there. Wander Franco, one of the better young shortstops. I think he'll definitely, in a full season, he played 70 games last year, got Rookie of the Year votes. I think he will take a step forward and definitely cement himself as, at minimum, a top 10 shortstop. He's got all the talent in the world. So I look for him to probably, 2020 season, maybe a 300 average. Taylor Walls, he'll stick as, maybe he plays third base for him, if he can hit the ball consistently. Otherwise he'll just be, a utility guy around the infield when people need a day off. Carson Williams, young guy, 18. Maybe he's only 2-3 years away as well. He looks pretty well rounded. So I think that potential could definitely go a lot higher than C, maybe B, or maybe even an A. Challenge Wander Franco. Greg Jones, another guy, really fast, good defender. Maybe he shifts into the outfield. Maybe he plays center field, takes over Kevin Kiermaier soon. He another guy that he needs to hit the ball more consistently. Left field, you've got Randy Rosarena, 2020 guy, 274 average. Maybe he takes a step forward and goes for 30 home runs this year, maybe close to a 300 average. Kind of like a Ronald Acuna. In terms of prospects, not too much, so it's really his job to lose. It looks like they traded away Austin Meadows, I believe, to the Tigers. Let me just check that real fast, actually. Probably be a left fielder. Yeah, to the Tigers. I'll have to see what they got for him. Because just looking at the roster, I can't really tell. Center fielder, Kevin Kiermaier, he's been holding it down. One of the best defensive center fielders, outfielders really, even defenders in general. Good speed, just never really been able to put it together at the plate. So, it's kind of what you get, 260 average. It's kind of who he is. Same with Brett Phillips. A little bit lower of a hitter, good power against righties. Runs into one here and there. Good speed, phenomenal fielder. Cannon of an arm. Maybe an injury happens to one of these guys and he gets some more time. Josh Lowe, he'll probably come up this year, get some at bats. In terms of prospects, I guess you can say Yan Diaz. He looks pretty good all around, just in terms of progression. Right fielders, Manuel Margot. When he came over from the Padres, you thought he'd be more than 10 home runs, 13 steals. So maybe he takes a step forward this year. Another good defender. Rays definitely pride themselves on defense. In terms of prospects, you got Diego Infante. He looks pretty solid, pretty all around. You got Cameron Misner. He's kind of old for a prospect, so maybe he just kind of turns into a career minor leaguer, or maybe he turns into a good fourth outfielder to have. But all around, top to bottom, pitching lineup, the Rays don't really seem to have any holes. I guess third base, but you've got so many young players here in the organization. Even Paredes, I think he'll be solid. And at first base, I think they can find a way to fill in. Maybe you throw Paredes over at first, and you throw one of these two at third. If you really, or you platoon Yandy Diaz and G-Man Choi, and like I said, get one of them guys third base, or maybe Wander goes to third, and they've got endless opportunities everywhere. The last team in the AL East, the Blue Jays, they made a lot of moves this year to cement their team as one of the top teams in the league, not only the AL East. They brought in Kevin Gausman from the Giants, NL Cy Young, to replace what they lost in Robbie Ray. So I think he'll be a very good addition. They've got Alek Manoah, Jose Barrios, Hyun-Jin Ryu. So, very good top four of the rotation, really just looking for their number five. Whether it be Yusei Kikuchi, Jose De Leon, or Nate Pearson, or maybe they put him in the bullpen, let him get acclimated to the majors. But they, as long as they can get solid innings out of a number five starter, they're going to be very good. De Leon, 835 is not very good, but maybe in a bigger sample size he does better. In terms of other prospects, they've got Adam Klopfenstein. He looks to be solid, 21. He's probably a couple years away yet. Irv Carter, younger guy, looks pretty big, 6'4", 210. Yeah, throws hard. He'll probably be solid in a few years. Not too much else in terms of starting pitching prospects. Bullpen, they look solid. Tim Isa, Adam Simber, Julian Merriweather, Trevor Richards. Yimi Garcia wasn't too bad. Ross Stripling, you thought he would be better coming over from the Dodgers. But ever since he left LA, he hasn't done too good in his 2 seasons in Toronto. Ryan Barucki, not too good either. But Anthony Castro, he's okay. He'll probably eat some innings. But not too deep in terms of pitching depth, but not exactly hurting for it either. So I think they should be fine. And then obviously if they get back into the bullpen, they got Jordan Romano. I think he'll hold it down this year. Maybe he looks to improve. Yeah, he's had a good last 2 seasons, so that looks like maybe who he is. Maybe he gets away from this 2019 year and keeps doing what he's doing. David Phelps, he threw a few good innings. Maybe he does that over a full season. Who knows? Catching, Danny Jansen, looks like the starter going forward. You got Alejandro Kirk, more of a hitter though, so maybe that's their DH. Chris Beck, not very good potential, but looks to be, not too bad all around. Prospect-wise, they got Gabe Barreto. Very good all-around catcher. Probably, maybe he comes up this year around the All-Star break, September, August. Or, they look to bring him up next year. They traded Reese McGuire for Zach Collins with the White Sox. I think Zach Collins has a higher potential, but I think Reese McGuire is better right now. But, Zach Collins is already 27, so, he's older than all of their other options. So, I think he is still blocked. He's blocked by Yasmani Grandal in Chicago. And obviously he's still blocked here in Toronto. So maybe he looks to play another position, or they move him in another deal later. Or, they have the option of moving one of these 3 guys and, let Gabe Moreno get some more time. They got a lot of options there. First base, obviously is occupied by Vlad Jr. Not much to say. One of the best hitters in the game. Close to 50 home runs, 311 average. Not a whole lot of room for improvement, maybe defensively, if anything. Not too much in terms of prospects either. Second base, you got Kevin Biggio, who's looking to have a healthy season. And I think without the pressure of producing like a top of the line or top of the lineup guy, just being able to settle in, I think he'll have a much better season. Probably look for 260 to 270 average, probably 15 to 20 home runs. Good base runner, so maybe he steals some bags. Prospect-wise, looks not too great. So, maybe some of these guys can improve throughout the season. Looks like they got Samad Taylor. He might come up and battle Biggio for playing time. Third base, they traded for Matt Chapman, obviously one of the best defenders in the game. But you look for him to take a step forward in terms of hitting. But, 27 home runs, nothing to be ashamed about. But you'd like to see that 210 average much higher, especially from someone of, his caliber. Santiago Espinal, good contact guy, and limited action. So good utility guy to have, back up your other infielders prospects. They got Miguel Geraldo, but is now blocked at first and third. So, maybe he looks to play second or short, but obviously a second. You've got Kevin Biggio, and shortstop you've got Bo Bichette. So maybe they use him in a trade for a reliever going forward. And like we mentioned at shortstop, you got Bo Bichette, who is only looking to get even better. 29 home runs, 25 steals, 300 average, just about. So he's looking to do more of the same. Maybe higher numbers prospects. You got Orelvis Martinez, high rated prospect, and Jordan Groshans, another just good all around guy. Look for him a little more in the power department, but that's two good prospects to have. Maybe they get used for a top end reliever. Left field, you got Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Phenomenal hitter, good good defender in left field. Middle of the order guy. Nothing really you can ask of him besides what he does, and he's a good veteran presence. Raimel Tapia, good fourth outfielder to have. They brought him over in the Randall Grichuk trade with the Rockies, and I think he will probably be the fourth outfielder behind Hernandez, Springer, and Gurriel, and can give them some days off. Good left-handed bat to have. Not too much in terms of prospects left field wise, but when you have as good hitters as you do, you don't notice it as much. And then George Springer, 22 home runs, 264 average. He did that in 78 games, so look for him to improve on that going forward. I think he, if he can stay healthy, maybe he has a big season. Prospects, they got Jan Solarte. He needs to take a step forward, especially hitting the ball. Dason Brown, I think he's Canadian. Yeah, born in Canada. He's still young, so he's got room to grow. Right field, Teoscar Hernandez, another phenomenal hitter. 32 home runs, almost a 300 average, and 12 steals. Just look for him to do more of the same, really. Can't ask for much more. Dexter Fowler, good veteran presence to have, in case someone gets hurt. Been in the league a long time. Hasn't played too much the last couple of years, but he's probably still got some left in the tank. In terms of prospects, you don't really have none, and I mean from top to bottom, there's no holes with the Blue Jays, not in the lineup. They got. I mean, maybe you look at the bullpen and you think, man, there could really be more, especially after looking at the Yankees bullpen and the Rays. But the rotation more than makes up for it, and like I said, if Kikuchi takes that fifth starter spot, Nate Pearson, I think he'll get a lot of innings out of the bullpen this year. And, maybe Jose De Leon finds a home in the bullpen. They got a couple guys here, Bowden Francis and Joey Murray. Maybe they find a home in the bullpen, just give them some extra options. But all in all, I think the Blue Jays are probably the team to beat in the AL East and, maybe even all of the American League as a whole. And I think the Tampa Bay Rays are close behind them. Just in terms of depth, I think they're good. You never count them out. And obviously the Yankees, their problem is they got to stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, I think, they've also always got a lot of talent. But, you can never go wrong. But I think they look to pick up probably another starting pitcher. You can't really rely on all four of these guys staying healthy. Garrett Cole, I don't believe has ever had injury problems. 2020 injuries or just shortened season all around. Looks like 2016, I guess, was really the last time he didn't pitch a full season. Ever since then, he's been healthy. Then you got Luis Severino coming off of 2 lost seasons, basically. Then you've got Taillon, he's been healthy, looks like, most of his career. Montgomery, early in his career, it looks like he couldn't stay on the field. So, you look for them to stay healthy. If they can, then you should probably be fine. Orioles, obviously, I think are going to be the bottom dwellers. I think the Red Sox will finish in fourth place, the Yankees in third, and I think it'll be a toss-up between the Jays and the Rays. If they can both stay healthy, I think they're 1 and 2. I would have the Jays taking the AL East and the Rays taking a wild card, and the Yankees in the race for a wild card. But if you think any different, let me know. But that's my predictions for the AL East. Peace out.